He is gone, and he asked me if I would fill in for him tonight. And I'll do the best that I know how, and we'll try to learn something from the Bible tonight. We're going to be studying out of Matthew on the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. When you go back, I know Tony's been doing the Beatitudes, and we're not going to do the Beatitudes. We're going to skip that and get on down into it. When Jesus spoke this thing, he expected these Christians to live like this. You can take the Sermon on the Mount and pretty well, if you're a baptized believer, and if you live what is taught in the Sermon on the Mount, you usually be in pretty good shape. You know, there's a lot of some things that's probably not in the Sermon on the Mount that you may need to do, but there's a lot of things in here that you need to do. And some of them is difficult. And when we go through here and talk about some of these things tonight, you'll see what I'm talking about. Is anybody got any questions or comments before we get started? We're going to drop down to about the 13th verse of chapter 5. We're going to start there. I thought it was pretty interesting. One of the scriptures that it gave for this comes out of Leviticus 2:13. We'll read through 16, and we'll talk about these four verses. It says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by man. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." Over in Leviticus, the 2nd chapter, in verse 13, it says this: "Every offering of your grain offering you shall season with salt. You shall not allow the salt of the covenant of your God to be lacking from your grain offering. With all your offerings you shall offer salt." You say, well, it may not have anything to do with it. But it's talking about us being the salt of the earth. And if the salt has lost its seasoning, what is it good for? It is good for nothing. Over in the Luke the 14th chapter, in verses 34 and 35. It says this: "Salt is good, but if the salt has lost its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the lamb, nor for the dunghill, but man throws it out. He has ears to hear, let him hear." Most of these people put this salt in a rope. And if you get enough salt in the dirt, nothing will grow it. It'll kill the ground. And so that's what they were doing with it when the salt lost its flavor and seasoning. Over in Mark, the 9th chapter, verses 49 and 50, we'll start at verse 48. "Where their worms does not die, and the fire is not quenched, tasteless salt is worthless. For everyone will be seasoned with fire, and every sacrifice will be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if salt loses its flavor, how will it be seasoned? Season it. Have salt in yourself and have peace with one another. So salt is essential. And as he is talking about here, for a man to be a child of God, it is treating as a deal. And he goes on and he talks about in verse 14 through the rest of the 3 verses, it talks about, says you are the light of the world. Who was really the light of the world? What did Jesus say in John 6:38? He said, for I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. It's not the verse I'm looking for. It talks about Jesus being the light of the world, but that's not the verse. See if I can find it. Huh?
Thinking about John 8:12.
8:12, see it. Jesus spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. If Jesus is the light of the world, why should we be the light of the world? Are we not to be like Christ? Christians are supposed to be Christ-like. Is that not right? And if we're going to be Christ-like, then we need to let our light shine before men, or for the world. But if a man's light is shining and you put it under a basket, what good is it? Or if you put it in the closet, what good is it to the world?
It's not light.
It's not light. I don't know how many of you ever been in maybe a bathroom or in a room somewhere and somebody turned the light out on you. There was one down where I worked at ABF in the hall. And if you were sitting in there in the bathroom or in the bathroom and somebody walked by there and flipped that switch, you know how much light was in there? You couldn't see nothing. I'm talking about nothing. You couldn't even see the crack under the door. You know, a lot of times you see the light on the door, but then there was a seal that went down to that floor, and you couldn't even see the crack for a second. We're to be the light of the world. We're to live our lives so that the people see our good works. And it talks about in verse 16, says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. It's for God's glory that we let our light shine, not for ours. It is our purpose in life that we serve Him. Over in 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. Verses 11 and 12. Beloved, I beg you, as sojourners and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lust, which war against the soul. Having your conduct honorable among the Gentiles, that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may, by your good works, which they observe, glorify God in the days of visitation. It is that when we do things, that God is to be glorified, and not for us. Over in 1 Peter 2, verses 15 through 17, for this is the will of God, that by doing good you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men, as free, yet not using liberty as a cloak or vice, but as bondservants of God. Honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. And we are to be bondservants and servants of God, and do His will while we're up here on this earth. Over in Colossians, the 4th chapter, and verses 5 and 6, it says, walk in wisdom towards those who are outside, redeeming the time. Let your speech always be with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer each one. You can stand around and listen to people, and you can tell by their speech whether they're a child of God or not, if you'll listen to them very long. And I've used the example a lot of times. The guy's supposed to have been a deacon, and I worked at ABF down there, and if you'd have listened to him talk, you would have thought he'd never opened the door of a church building because of his speech. And God's not talking about being like that. He's talking about being an example for people, that people would want to serve and serve God, not live like the devil does.
This verse sheds a little bit more light on let a light shine. Philippians chapter 3, verses 14 through 16, it says, do all things without complaining and disputing or arguing, that you may become blameless and harmless children of God, without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding fast the word of life, so that I may rejoice in the day of Christ, and I have not run in vain or labored in vain. What he's telling me, what he's saying there, is that if we're going out here in the world and we're complaining and we're disputing and arguing and anything, our light's not shining.
That's true. And like I say, there's a lot of things in life and a lot of things in this sermon that's going to be brought out. And can be difficult. It shouldn't be difficult, but it is, because of the way people live and the way people do. Anyone got any questions or comments before we go on?
That's just another part of that tongue being salty.
Huh?
That's just another part of that tongue being salty.
Yeah. Yeah.
You run across some people complain about everything. They're always ready to argue about everything.
Yeah, people, you can talk about that. I said, we can complain like that, but people ain't going to listen to you. So why even complain strongly, But we are sinful people, and we need to really watch the way that we live.
We look at this and be the Sermon on the Mount, but if you look at all the things that Jesus did, he lived a better sermon than he did preaching here. He is a perfect example of what to be if you're going to glorify God.
Yeah. And that's what it was saying. It's, and that's when I read John 6:38 and John 4:34, and what David is saying for it, he said, I have come down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. And Jesus said to them, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work. And that's what our job and duty is as children of God, to do God's work here on this earth. If we're not going to do it, who is? Goes on down and it talks about Jesus fulfilling the law. But we're going to skip that one. We're going to get down in verse 20, and it says this. He said, for I say to you that unless your righteousness exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. You go back over to Matthew 24, and you read what they said about the scribes and what Jesus said about the scribes and the Pharisees. It was not good. And we're not going to go over and read Matthew 24. You can read it on your own time. But Jesus said, that they were supposed to be the Christian leaders of that day and time, but they weren't. They were not setting an example for the people. In fact, Jesus told them, said, do what they tell you to do and not what they do. Because they were living for themselves, and that's the reason that they killed Jesus, because he was going you got enough people following him, they would be following him. It goes on. It says in verse 21, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder. And whoever murders will be in danger of the judgment. And, you know, a lot of people says today, well, the Bible says you're not to kill a man. The Bible says you're not to murder a man. There's a difference. You can accidentally kill a man, but when you murder a man, it is where you premeditate the intent of killing. Is what it is. And so, we're not going to say anything more about it, but anyway, that's what he's saying here. But he said, I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever says, you fool, shall be in danger of hell fire. And when it's talking about Raca, it's talking about empty-headed. Someone being empty-headed. When it's talking about a fool, it's talking about someone being, you call someone stupid. I had to catch myself from time to time. You'll see people that do things that you wonder why they done, and you'll say things, or I do, that I shouldn't say. I pray the Lord forgive me. But over in 1 John 3, verse 15, it says this. It says, whoever hates his brother is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. Over in 1 John 4 and the 20th chapter, it says, if someone says, I love God and hate his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen? God says we're not to hate people. You know, we may hate the things that they do, but as far as the person themselves, we're not to hate those people. Our duty and job is to try to change these people and bring them to Christ. I did read an article. I heard a story one time. This guy had murdered this couple's daughter. I don't remember how old she was or anything about it. I don't know what religious belief they were. They didn't say. But they were out of California. The two people, the mother and father of that daughter, went to jail and tried to teach that man the Bible and tried to get him to change his life. How many people would go and do that? You know, the first instinct the person wants to do, you just like take and hang them by a tall tree with a short rope. That's your first instinct. But these people done what they were supposed to do when they went and tried to teach him the Bible. Try to get him to change his life to keep him from losing his soul. Need to keep it in mind. When things happen to us, a lot of things happen to us that, you know, that we don't like, but you go back to Jesus. And if I'd have been in Jesus' place and I could call 12 legions angels, I would probably call them. When a man takes a slap you in the face, you spit in your face, you put a crown of thorns on your head, they'll beat you with 39 straps, and you ask the Lord to forgive them for what they've done to you. It's difficult. We'll never have to go through that, but we need to keep it in consideration that when we are out here and things happen to us, the things here that we have here on this earth is not worth a man's soul. We need to be Christians and Christ-like, and I'm preaching this to myself. If it applies to you, because there's a lot of things I do that's not right, that I need to get back. But he said, therefore, if you bring your gifts to the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother and then come and offer your gift. Agree with your adversary quickly while you are on the way with him, lest your adversary deliver you to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Surely I say to you, you will by no means get out of there until you pay the last penny. But the thing about it is, if God is telling these people, or Jesus is telling these people, you need to be reconciled to your brother. You don't need to wait a week. You don't need to wait 10 days, or a month, or 6 months to ask him for forgiveness, or whatever that is. The quicker you do it, the better off you are, and the quicker you'll get over with it. But the longer you let it go, the harder it is to do it. So if we have a problem with a brother, we need to go to him immediately and take care of the problem. We don't need to try to shove that thing under the thing because, it's like leaven and bread. The longer you leave it, the bigger it'll get. And that's the same way that'll happen. Anybody got any questions or comments before we go on? Under the old law, you were not to commit adultery. But notice what Jesus says about it here. You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. What is the penalty for adultery?
Stoned to death.
Yeah, they stoned them to death under the old law. It was one of those things. But if you're committing adultery, will you get to heaven? Galatians 5th chapter, start about verse 16. Fornication, adultery, and it goes over the list of these sinful things, and they say you will not enter the kingdom of heaven if you do those things. And so this is what is brought up. But he said, I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Difficult. This day and time, it's difficult. The thing about it is the way some of these people dress is absurd. As I've told Carolyn, sometimes they don't put enough material on. It's as they say, you need to turn your head and go on. Not look. Because notice what he says on down in here. He said, if your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out and cast it from you. For it's more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and cast it from you. For it's more profitable for you that one of your members perish than for your whole body to be cast into hell. Jesus is telling us how serious this crime is. If you have a problem with it, you need to either get you blindfolds put on, or you need to get something, because he's saying it's better to pluck your eye out than it is to look at a woman to lust at her. Because adultery, you're not going to get into heaven if you do it. And like I say, it's difficult this day and time because of the way people dress.
Maybe we need to learn how to look upon something like that with disgust rather than desire.
Well, that's true. We talked about, one time I preached a sermon on Sunday morning and was talking about clothing. And a lot of times you'll see women who wear something pretty low cut, and they'll have to keep pulling up on it. They'll have to keep pulling up on it. Or if and back years ago, they had what they call that mini skirt. And sometimes if they bent over, you can see her backbone. That's how high you can see them. But I told people, on their clothing, if you had to pull at your skirt when you're sitting there, keep from being seen, or had to pull up the thing, you need to get something with a little more material in it. You don't need to be wearing it, certainly. Because the thing about it is, as far as I'm concerned, if you cause a man to lust after you, it would be, and I'm talking about in a situation like that, you'd be as guilty as he is. I'm telling you Finch's opinion. Because we don't need to do that, and the seriousness of the crime, if Jesus says that you need to pluck out your eye, if you continue to look at it and you can't stop, you need to pluck it out. It's better to pluck the eye out than it is lose your soul. If you have a problem picking stuff up in a store and stealing it, he says it's better to cut your right hand off than it is to lose your soul. And over in Ephesians 5th chapter, let's see, about verse 28, I think it is, 4th or 5th chapter of Ephesians. It says, wait, what the Bible I got it marked. 4:28. Let him who stole steal no longer, but rather let him labor, working with his hands what is good, that he may have something to give him who has need. And so instead of a man stealing, you need to be working with your hands. Paul is saying that you may have something to give to someone else, to help. So, we don't need to lust, we don't need to steal. And if you do that, you might cut your hand off, you won't have to pluck your eye. Then it goes on. Talk about the difficult things. I'm going to skip the one on marriage. You can turn over to Matthew, the 19th chapter. In verse 33. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oath to the Lord. Over in Ecclesiastes, 5th chapter, verses 1 through 5. Let me get over here. Ecclesiastes 5th chapter, verse 1 through 5. Now, Jesus is saying over here in this saying on the oath. Notice what it says over Ecclesiastes. Really, it's talking about vows over here, and as far as a vow or an oath is about the same difference. It says, walk prudently when you go to the house of God, and draw near to hear rather than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know what that they do evil. It says, do not be rash with your mouth, and let not your heart utter anything falsely before God. For God is in heaven and you are on earth. Therefore let your words be few. For a dream comes through much activity, and a fool's voice is known by his many words. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Pay what you have vowed. Better not to vow than to vow and not to pay. I have done this before. You know, tell somebody that you're going to do something happened that you couldn't get around to doing it. You know, I had good intentions to start with, but it didn't work. And so, really and truly, if a man's going to tell someone he's going to do something, you need to do it. Whatever it costs you, whatever it comes for you, you need to do it. Anybody got any questions or comments? Our time got up. But you go back down through here and read I'm gonna read you one more. We have another minute. I'm gonna read you one more. Verse 42 of chapter 5, it says this. Give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. I've had some good experiences with this. I had a neighbor moved in. He got a rent house next door to me. Boy come by and he won't borrow my trailer. I loaned him the trailer and come back with the fender half tore off of it. And I fixed it, come back, it wouldn't, probably a month later he won't borrow it again, come back and tore up again. And he come back the third time and I loaned it to him again, and the fourth time he come back, I didn't loan it to him, but every time I got it back, it was tore up. You know, the Bible says, if man, if he asks to borrow from you, you're to loan it to him. I had another neighbor come over there and want to borrow a shovel. Loaned it to him. I didn't get it back. About 3 weeks, I needed a shovel one over there. You know why he didn't get it back to me? The handle was broke in. But the Bible says, if a man asks, you're to loan it to him. Difficult? Yeah, it is. Need to think about it. Need to read the Sermon on the Mount and live it to the best of your ability. Thank you, class.